Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Tuesday Talks. I am your host, Kim Riley, and I'm excited to present a very relevant topic and an awesome presenter who is absolutely, she should wear a cape because she is the most phenomenal, family advocate ever. So I'm excited that my friend Angela Gomez is here, and that's why I jumped right in and didn't even do the format because I just couldn't even wait because I love her so much. But I am going to be legit and actually go through our actual format. So here at Tuesday Talks, just to give a little background for those who may not be familiar with how we started. We got started right when COVID-19 hit and we were all quarantined. And so on March 31st, we decided that we as a disability community wanted to come together and stay connected throughout COVID-19. And so we got together schools, both K through 12 and higher ed. We also connected with case managers, with families, with our friends in the medical arena. And we all started coming together and sharing topics and leaning on one another and learning from one another during this unprecedented pandemic. And the agenda that we usually follow is the first half of the show is devoted to a presentation. And then the second half, we share resources. And we kind of mix it up a little bit. If the presentation goes a little longer, that's fine. Sometimes the resource sharing is more brief, but this is loosely the presentation that we follow. And today's presenter, as I shared, is Miss Angela Gomez. Angela is one of those amazing people who is able to explain even the most mundane, difficult information and make it so that families will understand it and will move forward. And today she is going to talk us through the Department of Mental Health eligibility and intake process so that families can learn what steps to take to make sure that their loved ones get the resources they need. And without any further ado, I turn it over to my dear friend Angela to lead us into a deeper discussion. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you. I don't think I can top that introduction. Thank you so much. So I'd be curious about how many folks we do have on here today that are linked with us and who potentially have been in the past and are interested in maybe seeking services again. I'll kind of let you a little bit know about my background. My name is Angela Gomez, and the role that I have at the regional office is as our intake and assessment supervisor. This year I'll be starting my 23rd year with the regional office. So one of those folks that have been there for quite some time, moving up the ranks from first steps case management when I was in my early 20s to just different and various different roles I've had. So I've been in this role for a few years now and absolutely loved it. So I'll just kind of let you know a little bit about it. Missouri Department of Mental Health is actually broken into two divisions. We're the Division of Developmental Disabilities, and our sister agency is Division of Behavioral Health. So their side supports our folks with community mental health programs. But on our side, I can let you know information about intake, eligibility, and what can happen after that. So with the eligibility process, right now we're trying to do business as usual. We're doing them at our homes with our kids running around us, but still business as usual. We do have an intake line that we do have various staff that are required to return those phone calls within 24 hours. And our customer service, I think, rocks on this team. They do a fantastic job. So for those that are interested or would like to come back and seek out supports again, I want to go ahead and give you our intake line, and that's 816-889-3452. Right now, because we're not in the office, you would end up leaving a voice message, and that's fine because my staff are checking that throughout the day. What we just want to know in that voice message is that the guardian or responsible party for that individual is the one making that phone call. You might have a loved one that's turned 18 years of age and they're their own person at that time unless guardianship had been sought. So we would need to just to make sure it's okay that we're going to take that referral from a parent if the individual's turned age 18. And then from there, we can turn the phone over to mom, dad, or whomever's taking that call. So from there, what we just want to know is, what is that reported diagnosis? What is that developmental disability? What has occurred before age 22 and manifested with some significant limitations? That would be information you might be able to derive from your family member's school district, maybe a recent diagnosis from an agency such as Children's Mercy or Thompson Center. So we would just need to determine that the diagnosis did occur before your loved one turned age 22. So what we would do at that point is we would, at this time during COVID-19, we're struggling to get records and collateral documentation from our school districts. We would ask if you could send in records. We would provide you with that email address to send records in to us. Eligibility, though, is two parts. Diagnosis alone does not necessarily determine an individual. We look at diagnoses, and we have to look at, does your loved one exhibit substantial functional limitations and adaptive skills? You may say, what's adaptive skills? Those are broken down into 6 different domains. We look at communication. We look at how they're getting along with others, so their social skills. We look at skills such as motor skills. That's your ability to walk, run, jump, throw a ball, catch a ball. We look at skills such as, how are you doing with your basic daily life? How are they doing on taking showers, feeding themselves, meal preparation, paying bills, taking medication? So we looked at those various areas. For eligibility, we need to show that someone has their diagnosis and at least 2 areas that are substantially functionally limited, meaning that they're having significant struggles in those areas. And we look at those through standardized scores. So you say, well, they're eligible. What happens next? You know what? Things kind of had changed a couple of years ago, and it really depends on the county in which you live in. And it really depends on whether or not your loved one has Medicaid or doesn't have Medicaid. So for instance, here, I don't know where our counties that you currently have on here, Kim, are, but let's look at just specifically Jackson County. So in Jackson County, if an individual does not have Medicaid, at the Kansas City Regional Office, we would not serve them with typical case management. Those individuals without Medicaid would be served underneath a local community resource team at Developmental Disability Services of Jackson County, or otherwise known as ETOS. So it's not true case management they receive, but basic linkage of community resources. There's caveats in that too. Seems like folks that do have autism spectrum disorder, if they don't have Medicaid, those folks, if they're interested in our Northwest Autism Project supports, can receive case management. I'll go into services here in just a little bit with what's going on with our budget and services. But for instance, some of our counties, such as Cass County, do not serve individuals without MoHealthNet, without Medicaid. So what happens with those folks? If they have autism and they state that they need autism services, okay, that's fine. It's a different caveat. They can stay with Cass County, which their contracted case management name is called Choices of Cass County. So folks then can receive autism project support, or at this time, like I said, I'll go into services in a bit, they could be placed on a wait list for autism supports. But if it's any other diagnoses besides autism and they do not have Medicaid, we've created what is called, back in July of 2018, what has happened is we've created 6 staff members across the state, and we've created a statewide information coordination system. What that is folks who do not have Medicaid and are not actively on a wait list for autism services or receiving autism services, they go into this group of statewide information coordination. You're not assigned a case manager. What it is basic resource linkage. So if there's a need for a linkage of resources, they're able to call a 1-800 number to request assistance, or they're also given an email. What's different about that is it may be you're not assigned to someone necessarily in the Kansas City area. It may be that you call on a Tuesday and it happens to be the staff member who actually resides down in the Boot Hill of Missouri that may be picking up the phone and answering any questions. Once a person, though, would start receiving Medicaid, and that typically is at age 18, as long as they If they have a spend down and they're paying that spend down, then it can go into their actual case management agency, which would be their local one through Johnson County, Cass County, Lafayette, Platte, Bates County, wherever they might reside at. So that's a little bit in a nutshell. We really try to break that down and explain that for families, because what I'm telling you right now, it's a lot of information. I live and breathe it 40 plus hours a week. So for me, it's what I live and breathe. But when a family member just heard that, they may say, why even try? You're talking about wait lists. You're talking about, if I don't have Medicaid, we really break it down. We say, get with us, get with the intake, and we'll start explaining it to you and tailoring it to your situation. So like I said, lots of information I'm handing to you right now, and it is a big government monster, but we like to help break down that red tape and get you where you need to be. So services, you might think, why should I even call? Got a recent diagnosis, Children's Mercy said, call this regional office. We get that a lot. Parents don't even know who they're calling or why they're calling. And they ask us, why am I calling here? What are you going to do for me? And I say, okay, wait list. Okay. So no, it's not about just a wait list. We have had funding. After 23 years, I've seen ebb and flow. We've gone 5 years and it's been a plethora of funding and monies, and then came to a screeching halt, it seemed like, about last year at fiscal year. So July of 2019, it seemed like we came to a screeching halt with funding. It was just for those that are the most dire needs. Our amount of waiver slots that we're able to give out to access federal funding, along with our general revenue money, just came to a screeching halt. We do have some funds available. It is for those folks that are most dire needs. Support coordination, and your team works with a family to determine where are those unmet needs. And from there, people may say, but we've had a wait list. Why even move forward with this? Because we've got to show legislation that there is a need. If we don't have folks on a wait list, they're not going to see there's even a need for these supports. So we say, well, this may be frustrating. You've got to get on wait list. We've got to show that there is a need for services at this time. That is the same like with autism project supports. Well, I keep talking about this needing Medicaid. You may say, well, my loved one doesn't have Medicaid. They're 7. We're a middle class income or don't have it. But my child has autism. So one of the good things about it is with the Northwest Autism Project funds is that it does not utilize any Medicaid. It comes straight through general revenue funding through the state of Missouri. So a family member can have private insurance, and it just taps into our general revenue funds. There's another caveat out there, and some of you folks that might have loved ones under the age of 18 might have heard about one of our waivers called the Sarah Lopez waiver. Sarah Lopez waiver are for families who do not meet the income requirement for Medicaid, and they've been denied. Or what we see is at times parents have applied for Medicaid, but they've been now not deemed ineligible, but they've been deemed eligible with this enormous spend down of $1,000, $2,000 a month. And you might say, well, what's a spend down? Basically what a spend down would be almost a monthly premium that someone would have to pay for their Medicaid even to be active. If you don't pay that on the monthly basis, your Medicaid's not active. So you would be considered to have active Medicaid. So folks that on Sarah Lopez waiver, they've been assessed maybe this huge spend down. They weren't denied it, but there's no way you're going to be able to pay that kind of amount. Those are for our little kiddos that have significant medical support needs that can then be placed on the waitlist for Sarah Lopez waiver. What that does provide them with is once they're able to access Sarah Lopez funds, they're able to have MoHealthNet, which is Medicaid. And Medicaid, for many folks who might know it, it opens up a world of services that private insurance cannot. Can pay for therapies, diapers for individuals who've not yet been able to control their bowel and bladder. And now they're 7 and 8 years of age, which they should be able to. Being able to pay for personal care attendant supports, potentially nursing supports in the home through Department of Health and Senior Services. So that's why we're able to give that for our folks that are significantly medically involved or have some significant behavior support needs through that Sarah Lopez waiver. There are caps on those type of waivers as well, which for Sarah Lopez, it is at $25,000 per year. And you say, well, that's a lot of money. When you start using services, it gets spent very quick. But it does help with home modifications. It helps with being able to modify potentially someone's vehicle, a van for wheelchair lifts. and just a variety and a plethora of supports for families. But always I want you to know too, and if you come to us for our support coordination, once you're linked with them, we're going to link you with other type of resources and supports. I'm able here just to throw out like Department of Health and Senior Services. There's a variety of different supports out there that case management can link people with, so they can overlap support to be able to get a more comprehensive plan for their individual. Because you may say, but I've got to go to work. My loved one's very medically involved. We can look at with Medicaid being able to link you with support such as Department of Health and Senior Services to be able to maybe get personal care attendant supports in your home. One of the things, they don't have a wait list because it's funded through Medicaid. So those are different types of things to kind of look at to be able to see where those unmet needs are and what we could do to help the family to work together better as a whole, or to help your loved one to be able to be as independent and have that quality of life that they should be able to have. So with that, I just kind of see what kind of questions you might have out there as a group, if any. I mean, I can go on and on about eligibility, what happens, but truly it is tailored for each individual, because we don't necessarily have like an a la carte of services saying, well, we've got personal care attendant supports, we've got hippotherapy. What I always tell families, especially if they've gotten quiet on me, it's your role as an advocate. You've got to talk. You don't need to know the jargon. You don't even need to know the names of these services. You need to be able to say, this is where I'm struggling. I'm going to work, and I don't think leaving Michael at home is safe. He's opened the door to strangers. He's turned the stove on and walked away from it. He's put metal in a microwave, and we've broken 5 microwaves in the past 10 years. We just want to know in parent language. It's not for you to know the lingo. Once you get in it long enough, Kim, you know the lingo. But I mean, we don't expect parents to know it. We expect you just to talk. Tell us what do you want to see for your loved one? Do you want to see them going to birthday parties with friends, but nobody invites them because they're not having the adequate social skills to gain friends? That's just that conversation you need to have, because then we'll say, oh, we've got something out here. Maybe we don't have the funds, but we know where to get you stipends and grant money to get you linked with social skills building programs. So there's a variety of things out there, and it doesn't always just have to be paid supports and funding, because our support coordinators, they're going to be able to find resources out there to help get you moving towards grants and scholarships that are out there as well while we wait for actual paid supports. So,
Angela, one of the questions I had, I've just started working with a variety of families. Some of them on the east side, and these are families who have really been failed by systems. Generations of, just kind of feeling left behind and failed. And so here we are with COVID. The school year abruptly ended. And so a group that was already marginalized and underserved are really being hit hard. And I think that one of the issues is, let's say you were turned down for resources in the past, and then people, they don't come back. They don't kind of stay the course. I would love to even spend some time on kind of some of the myths versus the facts as far as helping families to navigate the systems.
So, I mean, sometimes people feel that always, what you have to hear is that it's paid services for their loved one. And, we want people to build those natural supports within their community, within their family as well. So a myth might be that paid supports is what is the best for my loved one, or going to a day service program is what is best for my loved one. But really, we've changed our mindset over the few years, truly. We're looking more into exploring vocational skills of individuals. And we're not talking 40 hours a week necessarily, but we're really looking at what can we do that increases someone's quality of life, makes them feel happy and a meaningful day for them. So a myth would be that your loved one graduates at 18 and they go to a day program, or they go to a workshop where they're doing piecework. We are really trying to move folks to not thinking in that mindset. So the myth would be, it's not just a workshop. It's not just going to day services. Let's really look at piecemealing together what is best for that individual. and looking at potentially maybe some vocational supports for them so they can be working competitively in the community. Another myth might be, but oh, if my loved one works, then they're going to lose their benefits. So
Yes.
one of the things we need to really work with, we do have an employment transition coordinator on staff with us that can work and look at benefits planning. What are these ticket to work that is out there that can help someone gain income so they can purchase more things for them, but not hurt their benefits as well. So those are things you need to really tap into and have those conversations. And I'm shying away from competitive employment because I don't want Michael to lose his $782 of Social Security benefits. I don't want him to lose his Medicaid because if I don't have Medicaid, well, he doesn't have your services. So those are things, it's really those, not to be fearful and think I don't have the words. Just say, what am I not wanting? Maybe we just need to start with there. What do I not want to see from my loved one? Because maybe I don't know what I want for them, but I know I don't want them to lose benefits. I know I don't want them to sit at home.
Yeah.
I know I don't want them to go work in a workshop that might not be creating a meaningful day for my loved one. What I do know is they light up whenever we go to Worlds of Fun, and I would see a dream job for him because he's 18 working at a theme park. So I mean, you really start thinking about where are those dreams that person has and how can we build on them. So are there a lot of myths out there? Absolutely. But I truly just encourage folks to have those conversations, get it out there, let that support coordinator, let that team be able to help you get to where you need to be.
Do you, we're going through so much with Kindle and just, I guess, anxiety because of the transition from school to post-secondary. And so we're, of course, everyone's kind of, at a standstill right now. Do you have advice for maybe families like ours who need to kind of take a slow and steady approach?
I need the advice myself. I have a senior who just ended his schoolwork right on doing online courses, and we don't know what's going to happen with him in August. Is he going to college? Is he going to be in front of a screen? Is he taking a gap year? So he himself is pretty laid back about it all. And I think I'm the one that has the more stress about, no, but you have to move forward in life because that's just how life moves forward. So there is going to be that stress and anxiety because we don't know. Right now, it's the
Yeah.
unknown for us. So I'm living it in that same, we're moving to post-secondary education. I don't know what's going to happen in August, and none of us do. I'm taking at this point just for myself day to day, making my trips even just to the local Walmart, mask up just to feel secure and safe, because that anxiety and feeling of unknown is there for all of us. So I truly say at this point, you may say, I just want to stop. I don't want to move forward and put my next step forward. And that might be calling the regional office because maybe it's too much work for me at this point. I say sometimes we have to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations to move forward and to grow. And it may be, okay, she's kind of pet me up. Maybe I should call that support coordinator. I haven't heard from her for a while. Maybe they should be calling me. They should be. If there's no services in place, it'd be once a year phone contact. So it's okay for you to pick that phone up, call that support coordinator. You may say, but they're not in the office. No, none of us are. But guess what they're required to do? They're required to return those phone calls to family members. You got to have those conversations. Staying quiet isn't going to get you moving forward. And so it is continue to talk. You may think, well, I'm bothering them. That's what they're paid to do, is to return those phone calls to help linkage of resources. And it's yours to continue to make that call. What other resources are out there? Can I get linked with other things out there, such as Missouri Family to Family? Are there support groups for my loved one's specific developmental disability that I can get linked to? Are there other parents? I always tell parents, there's no need to blaze a trail. Trails have been blazed. It's just finding those people, getting linked with those folks that have been there, done that to help you along these transitions in life. So talk about transitions. I mean, I'm not sure how many of you are aware of Missouri Family to Family through UMKC's Institute of Human Development. They do a fantastic job on the life course planning, and that is also helping folks through different transitions to life. transition out of high school to adulthood is a huge transition. So I'd always encourage folks that aren't aware of Missouri to Family, it's a good resource to share, to link them up with that phone number, getting a call over there to Jenny Hatfield, Reed Callan, getting a call over there to Georgia Mueller, just to have those conversations going. I'm scared. Is there a parent maybe I could talk to that's been there, done that? I've heard about this Propel program through UMKC. Can you guys tell me a little bit about it? I want secondary education for my loved one, but I don't want them just heading off to UMKC or to Warrensburg. That's scary. But there's programs out there. And so let's get that information in families' hands so they can make more informed choices. But I guess the worst thing would be just to stay quiet and not take that step forward. Because once you put that call out there, it's going to get the ball rolling. Don't ever think you're bothering someone. I've told families in the past, you're not out here to make friends. You're out here to get services and supports for your loved one. You can get that knowledge. So don't ever think, well, I might be putting somebody out. That's okay. Make that call.
Let's see. You mentioned earlier about the statewide coordination system.
Yeah.
Is there a number that we can share with folks about how to reach out to those individuals?
So those would be the folks that are currently that do not have Medicaid and they ended up in one of those counties. And the counties for our 8-county catchment area, and that's one that Kansas City serves. I mean, as our target audience here, Kim, statewide?
Pretty much, we do have some. Yeah, there.
What I'd almost like to forward to you is that statewide map. So it wouldn't be that someone has case management and statewide information coordination. It would be for an individual who did not have Medicaid that fell into one of those counties that chose not to serve individuals that did not have Mo Health Net. So, like for instance, here in our catchment area, Jackson County has chosen to take it locally so that folks didn't have to go into the statewide information coordination. But folks like in Cass County, they don't serve individuals who do not have Mo Health Net unless they fall into autism, project services, or wait lists. Our Platte County does not serve individuals without Mo Health Net, Bates County, and Lafayette County. But that's our 8-county catchment area. For instance, if we have any viewers on here that live in Johnson County, Missouri, like Warrensburg, or live in Clay County area, those folks, with or without Medicaid, those counties have chosen still to serve those individuals with no change. So even if they don't have Medicaid, they've chosen to treat them just as if they did have Medicaid and provide them with case management supports. So it really goes back to each of the counties that the individual lives in. On our Department of Mental Health website, we do have, and that might be information I can forward to you because I don't know if you send out resources afterwards.
Yes, we do.
Then I could send you that specific link. And it wouldn't be that a family member would contact them. It'd be at that, under eligibility is determined. The intake assessment team member who determined that eligibility, they'd be the ones that refer that individual to our statewide information coordination and provide that responsible party, family member, guardian with a 1-800 number and with the email. From there, it's a requirement that upon initial referral to the statewide information coordination, that a staff member does reach out initially to each person that's been referred to them. From there, they ensure they have the email and the phone number. And for instance, if the individual has autism spectrum disorder, they're going to start receiving email blast in regards to resources and things that are related to that specific diagnoses. Or if someone has cerebral palsy or Down syndrome, then they would receive email blast in regards to those type of supports that are out there community-wise and national-wise.
Peggy Johnson, do you want to share with Angela what you shared in our chat box?
Yeah. Hi, Angela.
Hi.
You actually work with my daughter, Jacqueline.
Of course I remember. I remember Egypt, something about Egypt and pyramids.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How many years ago was that?
She just recently turned 19.
Oh, see, it ages me.
Me too, believe me. I started off old enough to be her grandmother. So, anyway, so we're with her older brother. He's 21. He's still getting his SSI. He's on disabled Medicaid. They were both on Autism Project funding.
Okay.
And we were told, I know that there were some cuts. We were told last fall that at the end of their service year, they wouldn't be eligible for that funding anymore. So, which makes sense with Tyrus because he has the Medicaid. And he should be eligible for like Medicaid waivers and such like that. But it doesn't make sense for Jacqueline because she doesn't have her SSI. We're in the appeal process hearing, in the appeal hearing process. She just lost, they're poised to cut off her Medicaid. I think that they've kept it on because it was supposed to be cut off the day before her 19th birthday because of COVID. They've kind of like backed off of doing anything like that. But shouldn't she still be eligible for the Autism Project funding?
Yeah, so a couple things here. I'll kind of back about the Medicaid. So her Medicaid ends at age 19 then, and then she'll apply for adult Medicaid because it'll be based upon her income at that point, not family income. So
right, and I did apply for disabled Medicaid for her last year after she turned 18. We went ahead and went through that process and she got denied. Now, I don't know if she got denied because of eligibility, et cetera, or if it was just that she already had Medicaid, continued to keep her Medicaid from, we're a homeschool family.
Right.
So, yeah. And so I was, with her being on a homeschool IEP, I was able to get them to extend her insurance until she turned 19.
Okay.
But they were supposed to cut it off on May 7th, the day before her 19th birthday, and they didn't do that. So, but my ETOS coordinator, we had the same service coordinator for all three of the family members with disabilities. It just seems to me like she should have been able to remain on Autism Project.
So unless you weren't spending the funds, the only reason someone would be actually removed out of that specific program would be if there was no use of utilizing the funds for 6+ months. So what we ran into back at the end of December and in January for many folks is that we overspent monies. We've been spending and spending monies because we've had people that have authorized supports and they hadn't been using them. So each year, if we didn't spend the money, we lost the money. So we opened it up to folks that had waiver supports, and if there was a service that could not be funded underneath the waiver, such as respite, or summer camps, then we opened up to those folks. We ended up spending over our budget for that, so we were put on hold. What we have found with COVID is that people haven't been utilizing their supports. So for the kids, when did their services, they actively had services, and when did they end? About December, January?
No, it was March. March was the end of their, we used all the funding. And we used all the funding every year. So,
they used their maximum amount for the Autism Project for March. So then they'd have to wait till fiscal year, which starts over on July 1 for new funds to become available. So if they've been able to utilize all their funds and they've ran out, then it would be that wait till July 1 and the new funds come available again at fiscal year.
Okay. Yeah, and we have been trying to work on justifying, things for Tyrus to get him on a waiver. And I understand the wait list issue and all that kind of thing. So just one of those things where you just have to wait and play the long game.
Right. And all the other things to look at too would be, we have 5 waivers out there. Another one potentially, if he's overspending the funds to the Autism Project, it could be now that he does have Medicaid or continue to have it. It might be looking at the Partnership for Hope waiver, because how that one is tailored is a little bit different. There is a wait list, but it might be something. It doesn't mean that there isn't any slots available. It means there's limited slots available.
Right. Yes.
And so that might be one to look at because the amount of funds per year are higher than what the Autism Project can allow, but less than what the support waiver allows. So that might be a different funding to look at.
My husband is on Partnership for Hope, and we're trying to get him switched over to community support right now. So I understand the whole dollar amount and all of that kind of thing. And it's just a matter of, I've been trying to work with my, this is the 3rd support case manager that I've worked with, that I thought that they had everything lined up and ready to put him on a wait list for Tyrus, to put him on a wait list for Partnership. for
And
Hope
he
waiver.
is or he isn't at this point?
Nothing, he's not on anything at this point. So, yeah.
Because he doesn't, the Medicaid is expired, because he doesn't have the Medicaid right now? Or
No, he
does?
has his
He has.
Medicaid. He has
Okay.
everything in place that
Okay.
way, and everything's intact. It's just a matter of getting them to do what they need to do. So like, I guess that we were on hold with, he had Maccabi done last year.
Okay.
So it should carry over into this year. So
Yeah, they review it
yeah.
once a year. It's good for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just one of those things. I was just kind of wondering about her situation. So July 1st, it should open back up to her then.
Yes. And then
Because
we've been
the
getting word on
new
that.
funding comes in. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Kate, do you want to share your questions that you had for Angela?
Yes. I'm from UMKC Propel, and plus I have 2 sons who are on the autism spectrum and receive services from ETAS. We have several students who would really benefit from having someone go to class with them that would help them stay focused. And one of the families is on the wait list for an assistant, but I was wondering if you can give us some advice on other ways that our families could get classroom assistants. I mean, it would be like a personal care assistant, except they'd be going to class, and they'd help them. Yeah, and they might help them after class. And we just found out that the AmeriCorps grant we applied for on Friday, we found out we didn't get it, and that's how we were going to be able to hire mentors for our students next semester. And we were going to, the ones who didn't have an assistant, we were going to use that program to provide assistance for them. But now we don't have that fund.
Gotcha.
So I was wondering to brainstorm with you how we could.
Care attendant could be something special if people need assistance with like use of the restroom while on campus, navigating in between classes. Would they be able to use a personal care attendant specifically for something such as like note taking? Probably not. So we're really looking at being able to help that person be successful, but to have someone with them full time while at school might be a challenge.
Or it doesn't have to be 40 hours a week. It would be to go to classes and help with some homework. So
potentially that could be something that could be requested as well. But like I said, right now, unfortunately, there are the wait list for those. But that's something, have them, if they're not already linked with us through case management supports, to get that plan in place or get that plan amended. My loved ones at UMKC's Propel program may not show success unless we can help them. They've had until where are those unmet needs? They haven't been able to successfully navigate to the next classroom, or they're not being able to, they're having restroom accidents because they're not able to advocate for themselves to leave the class. What's happened that's causing those needs not to be met? And so that's more so what we need to look at, not the what ifs, like if he doesn't have someone, maybe he won't be successful. Why won't he be? What are those potential things that would occur without having somebody there to give him that support?
Is there one program that in particular that would be useful for that? One waiver, or can you use the Northwest Missouri Autism Project for that?
Funds are very limited though with that on the cap. I mean, the cap is right at $3,210. And as you know, as a personal care attendant, you might be spending $20 per hour for that. It's going to exhaust it pretty quick. But that is a way definitely to start to see if those needs can be met on a limited amount of basis. People are showing success, but they just need maybe a sprinkling of someone coming in there to help them to navigate their platform or their day.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
So Angela, what I'm getting is that it's really important to just kind of share, this is our situation. You know, these are the challenges, and then working with your team to really kind of say, oh, well, based on that challenge, here's how we can, kind of alleviate it, so because a lot of times I think, because as parents, we have to kind of have all the answers. You're kind of telling us to kind of take a little break and to just kind of share what's going on. This is my child. These are the behaviors, or these are the issues we're having. And then to let your team kind of share with us, these are the solutions.
I mean, the support coordination team, but also what are my dreams? I always don't want to just think about the negatives and those unmet needs. My dreams are for him to go to the Propel program at UMKC. I don't know how to have him be successful there. What we've done is X, Y, and Z, and this is where it's not shown success. So we want to know what those dreams are, because that's what we want to get to. But what are those steps and what are those unmet needs to get to that dream? And it's not really based upon, but I'm scared as a parent to let him go to UMKC. I'm scared to let my kid drive an hour and a half away to go to college. But, you know, it's sometimes we want so much for people not to have failures, but you know what, in life we learn through some mistakes and failures too. But what can we do to scoop you up and to support you to make sure that you can move along if you haven't learned from that mistake or that failure? That's what we want to know. Not just to put a protective bubble only around someone, but let people have that ability and freedom to make some mistakes, have some non-successes, and to see what we can do to support them to learn. I saw Peggy had a question there.
I'm putting it in there so that people can look back at it for record. So just to verify, so if we have a Propel student that is in need of a personal care assistant on campus, that is a possibility, but it's not like something that can happen right away, because first they have to be on Medicaid, so that they're eligible for a Medicaid waiver. Then they have to go on the Medicaid waiver wait list for that to open up.
Correct.
And Autism Project is a possibility for some limited funds, but it would be limited and it probably wouldn't go very far.
It's true.
And there's a wait list for that as well.
Right now, correct.
Okay, excellent.
But you know, with these services, one of the things I'll just kind of a little caveat, like personal care attendant supports wouldn't be able to provide any transportation to get the person to or from. They cannot bill for that time.
Right.
So the person would have to show success of being able to attend school, to get to school on their own, either through a parent or private transportation or public transportation.
Right. Which they do have the KC Freedom paratransit, which, you know, we have 4 of us in our household set up with that.
Okay. Perfect.
So that, yeah. So if there's a day where I'm not driving, like if I need to get to a doctor's appointment and I need to get back home, have somebody bring me back home, then like have a procedure or something like that, then I use it myself. Perfect. Because of my physical disability. So, but that's good for transportation. So if anybody hasn't taken that up, you just go on Ride KC's website and look up paratransit, and then you have to go through the application process, and then they do an interview now with the individual. So, okay. And it's $3 each way, and it's like they come to your house, they pick you up, and they bring you back. You just have to be very, very cautious about, like, there's like a 30-minute window that they're going to pick you up, or, you know, like pick you up from your destination. So you have to know the rules of the game, and you have to be patient, which is something I had to work on with my oldest son. Not very patient, but you know, he did real good. He finally figured it out. So we just tested out when I could go and pick him up, you know, if he didn't get picked up. We did some test runs. Yes.
So with Ride KC, I'm glad you brought this up. Do you live in KC Mo?
Yeah, in South Kansas City, Missouri. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if we lived in Lee Summit, we can't use it. Or if we have an appointment out there in Lee Summit, we can't get out there because it's not on the KC ride. It has to be on their bus routes.
Okay. For
you to be able to use it. So your destination where you're being dropped off or where you're being picked up has to be on the routes. It has to be close to the routes.
It sounds like it would even be worthwhile to even have have Ride KC on here, and maybe even some of our other transportation partners. It sounds like that would be a really good topic for us to kind of do an all things transportation session.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's neat through them too? They've come years ago and spoke to us at the regional office, but they have staff members that actually will work with folks who want to learn a bus route to ride with them and teach them that route. So that's definitely, I would encourage you to get them on board. And also for folks that might be going to school, have to do a couple of transfers, they will work with them specifically to help them to learn the bus route. So I would definitely encourage you to reach out to them.
Yeah, that was part of the interview. I took my daughter down there for, they had never done the interview thing before, but when I put her through the process, they called her in for an interview, and that was part of it. They did a little like, how do you ride the bus? Because now if you get your paratransit Ride KC Freedom, you get that. You also get to ride the bus for free with your pass. So you don't have to pay for the bus if you have Ride KC Freedom. So they are trying to teach people how to like navigate around, how to like, where do you get off, how do you ask for help, etc. So they did run them through that as part of the interview process.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have one more question from Rebecca. I know Rebecca's mom wanted to talk about, had some benefits questions.
Yeah, we just recently, she was just recently approved here, for Social Security and Medicaid, and so she's 19, and just we finally got that all set up, but I know very little now about what that means to us other than the Social Security money needs to be spent on her room and board when she goes back to school and those sorts of things. So the concept of applying for the waiver and being on the waiting list, I don't really know what that means. And our challenge, I guess, also is that our home county is here in Macon, but she goes to school in Kansas City. So I don't also really know exactly how those pieces fit. So
having the Medicaid in itself will qualify for the case management supports. And we do have folks, we look at where she domiciles at, and that's Macon. So it sounds like congrats, you're going to go to UMKC's Propel program. Is that?
She's already been there for a year.
Yay, so. Cool. So one of the things that can happen if she's receiving a waiver support, then we can do courtesy case management and another county for her. You're still domiciled out there in Macon because that's where you're going to go home for your breaks and your summers. You're going to spend a lot of time there as well. If you find that you're domiciled more so in the Kansas City area, she would just change over to Kansas City Regional Office Case Manager. But typically what we would end up, and that's all seamlessly done behind the scenes with our community living coordinator, not for you to figure out, now, do I need to call Kansas City? No. Once you're in, going through, Macon's through Central Missouri Regional Office, that's where you initially make that application or intake and assessment. And then from there, if she's going to be up there and needs to have courtesy case management, maybe she's receiving support. And depending on the service, support coordinators are required to see her a certain amount of times and monitor that support. So for instance, you're up there in college and you do have a personal assistant helping you to get back and forth between classes and things like that. It would then be more than likely to be courtesy case management happening out of our office that they would go to see her to ensure those services are being provided appropriately.
Okay.
So we can do things like that and get creative. Don't feel fearful that, but we live here, but many times she's there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's happened before. We've got terms for it. So,
wonderful. Okay.
So are you linked with a regional office, or it's been a long time when she was a little kid? Or?
Well, we're linked to our county connections service coordinator. So the service coordinator we currently have been working with is the one that isn't, once she, I'm trying to think, I guess once she turned 18, we weren't able to use our previous one because she wasn't on Medicaid.
Okay.
So they moved us to a different case manager. but we are linked with them. And so I think we need to reach back out to them. They helped with applying for Medicaid and Social Security. We just need to reach back out to them now that it finally, like, it's just been in the last week that this happened. So we're
Perfect, yeah. So it sounds like they're providing some local community resources. Some more
Yes.
counties have chosen to do that, which I like it because it still keeps it localized versus sending her to our statewide information coordination. So some more counties have chosen to do that, which is really awesome. I like that. So now it sounds like she's still within the same building but with a different team that actually provides targeted case management support. Yeah, reach out to them. Yeah, are they in the office? Probably not, but guess
Probably
what?
not.
They
No.
is still required to be working. Hi. And so that was, hi.
I am at the person that you were talking about. My name's
I know, I see you.
Rebecca. I've done it.
I think it's pretty cool. You're in college. You like it?
I really like it. It's a special place. I've never been here before.
Oh yeah, you're up there at UMKC, one of the Roos, huh?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Rebecca
Get to go back.
Rebecca is so amazing. She joined the sorority and is going to be living in the sorority house next year.
Very cool. You went Greek.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Greek is a family.
Very cool.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I don't want to cut it off. If anyone has a pressing question, feel free to ask it. If not, we'll move on to our resource section. It's totally up to you all.
Why you got to like slamming the door?
Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and move to resource section. And this week, we have a few cool resources. As you all know, we are on Zoom conferences every week, but just found out through our friends with Missouri Family to Family, in fact, they shared a cool resource. There is a video conference app for people who cannot speak. It's called COVID Speak, and it's a free web-based video conferencing tool for people who can't speak, but they still need to connect with those at a distance. And what I really love about this, and let's see how good my screen sharing is, I'm gonna try to find the, let's see. Yeah, here it is. I'm gonna try to find the site. As you can see, it kind of looks like a PEX board, right? And so for those who are needing to video conference, but they need a little help, here is a great resource for them. And so in this week's resource list, we will have a link to this website if anyone is interested, or if you know of someone who is interested, we will go ahead and pass that on. Also, if you know of younger students who are looking for school choice within Kansas City Public Schools geographic area, families get to choose schools either with the Kansas City Public School District or charter schools. And there are so many choices, it can be confusing. And so Show Me KC Schools, they offer a variety of workshops, tours to help families understand the options. And tomorrow on May the 20th, they will host a workshop called Exploring School Choice Options in Kansas City. And they will show attendees different options, and they will even walk attendees through the different application processes. So they have a 10 o'clock a.m. session and a 5:30 p.m. session, and we will have those links on the site as well. Are there any other resources that anyone wants to add that we can share with this week? And I know, Angela, you said you were going to send me a link, and I could definitely add that. Okay. Well, another cool thing I wanted to also bring up as we kind of close out the month of June, the month of May, and move quickly to June, which I can't even believe we're already talking about, you know, wrapping up May. One of the things that we want to do is celebrate the class of 2020. So students with disabilities who really, first of all, deserve to be celebrated, but maybe they also need some help developing their post-secondary plan. What's next after high school? Trust me, we got you. So what we're going to do on Friday, June the 26th, is we are going to have a virtual graduating senior recognition event. And then immediately following, there will be a virtual transition fair, and students will get to explore opportunities based on their interests. So whether it's college, maybe they want to work with animals, maybe they're not sure, they want to do some career exploration, maybe they're interested in the arts, maybe it's culinary, whatever your interests are, we want to provide you some insight into who is providing those opportunities. And so that will happen the last Friday of the month, June the 26th. If you are interested, of course, we will be putting that in our e-blast. And also, if you are interested in serving on the planning committee, let me know. We are offering incentives to those who are on that planning committee so that we can really make sure that we make this a really fun event and also very valuable for our families. And also wanted to let everyone know that we are going to take a little break next week. There will not be a Tuesday Talks. Monday will be Memorial Day. And so that Tuesday, we won't have Tuesday Talks. We're going to take a little break so we can focus on making sure that we have some really good topics for the summer months, and also so that we can make sure that we get the ball rolling with our virtual senior recognition and transition fair. So unless there are any further questions or comments, I think we're done for the day. Okay, well,
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. You know I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, you all take care and have a good one.
Thank you.